In today's installment of Affinity Energy's Short Tips, we're going to talk about meters and meter displays. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is, what meter makes sense to install for my particular application? If you're going to have alternative means to view the information from the meter, one of the questions that we like to bring up, or at least take into consideration, is do you need a local display or not? One of the things that a lot of meter manufacturers offer nowadays is the ability to make a meter without a local display, and this really facilitates and eases the installation process. The majority of the meters are going to require you to cut a hole in a door or a hole in an enclosure, and in a new construction environment that's not such a big problem because you can do that prior to installation in the field, and you don't have any safety precautions or have to be concerned over, say, metal shavings interfering with perhaps potentially energized equipment. If you are in a retrofit environment, then cutting a hole in a door can be a risky proposition, and it can also be a time-consuming endeavor. So we're going to talk a little bit about some options today, and I'm going to show you a little bit of some of the different meters and how they go about providing either display or displayless functionality. So the PowerScout 3037 meter is a simple basic meter. It provides all your basic power parameters. It doesn't do power quality, it doesn't do sag swell or transient detection. But if you need something to perhaps monitor your watt hours or your kW demand or your loads, your current, this is a good meter. It's got a kind of a non-traditional shape. It's got provisions to be mounted on standard DIN rail. It does have a display built in. This needs to be placed inside of your equipment. So typically you'll need to access an enclosure or a panel in which this meter may be installed. It's a very cost-effective meter from a company that's been producing meters for quite some time. So this is the Eaton Shark meter, and this meter has been around for quite some time now. Very popular meter. We use them in a lot of our industrial applications as well as in some of our renewable solar installations. It has a traditional form factor, which is it's what's called a quarter DIN type configuration, typically meant to be mounted in a panel or on a door in a piece of equipment. It does have a built-in display. Even though you connect to software and to potentially a network in order to read the meter, sometimes that software may be malfunctioning, sometimes the network is offline. So certainly having a means to verify energy consumption is important locally. The display is always a good way to verify that the meter is operating properly. When there's no display, then oftentimes we find that an integrator who's not familiar with the meter, if they have trouble, is going to require that manufacturer or whoever provided the original meter come out and lead them through and prove to them that meter is functioning properly. So sometimes we view having a display as kind of an insurance policy that allows the original equipment manufacturer or the installer to basically show to a potential integrator that the meter is functioning as installed, and it's installed properly. This is a meter that is kind of combines some of the capabilities of the last two meters. As you can see, it has what we'll call a main body of the meter, which contains all of the electronics and all of the metering capabilities. Now the nice thing about this meter is it can be installed faceless, or you can add to it a remote faceplate. These meters are capable of taking up to 600 volt input on the voltage reference connections, and bringing 600 volts to the front door of an enclosure or panel is viewed as potential safety risk or hazard. So one of the things that a remote display, in addition to providing you a local means to verify that the meter is functioning properly, is it allows you not to put potential hazardous voltages on the door of the panel in which you're working. One of the things that's nice with this is if you happen to have several meters that are installed in your facility, the thing that you can do is opt not to mount the display in the door and maybe you just keep 1 or 2 of these and you can use them just for local verification purposes. So rather than mount this on the door, when you need to, you open up your enclosure, again, make sure that you have the proper PPE equipment on, and then you connect to the display port and you can see your readings locally. This is a meter which actually is one of the more reliable and most popular GE meters. It's called the GE PQM meter. One of the things you'll notice right off the bat is it has a non-traditional shape. This particular meter is meant to be mounted on the door or on the front of an enclosure. It does have a display, but this kind of gives you an idea. This particular meter, how it differentiates itself from some of the predecessors is it does have power quality built in. It also has the ability to support multiple communication channels. Again, it has a display, but just wanted to give you an idea that meters do come in all shapes and sizes. This is a higher end power quality meter made by Schneider Electric. And then this particular display can be mounted on your door, again, so you don't have to bring hazardous voltage levels to the front of your door. And this display actually only requires a small hole in order to get the cable through, and then you'll need a couple of mounting holes in order to secure it to the front of your enclosure or your panel door. You don't have to put a display with each meter. If you want, you can purchase one display, and when you want to read the readings locally, just connect and you'll be able to verify whether your meter is functioning properly. So this meter is an interesting meter. As you can see, compared to all the previous meters, it's a very small form factor. As a matter of fact, some people would look at this and not even realize that it's a meter. It's one that we've become very fond of here in terms of retrofit situations, and also situations where we require metering multiple circuits or multiple loads in a specific location. And in addition to its size, it's DIN rail mounted, so you can surface mount it on the back of an enclosure. The other thing is it's got a display. If you're able to access that enclosure, you can read the display and be able to verify the readings and confirm that your building automation or your SCADA system is in agreement with what the meter is reading. You know, in a good size enclosure, you could probably fit up to a dozen of these. Just again, wanted to give you an idea that meters come in all shapes and sizes. This meter is manufactured by Dent Instruments. It's called the Power Scout 24. Inside of this enclosure, so you can order it with its own enclosure, is the brains of the meter. This particular meter can meter up to 8 three-phase loads. Rather than installing a bunch of 8 separate meters, not only is this compact in terms of its footprint, but also it's very cost effective. Whenever you have probably more than 2 metered loads in an area, this is going to be a better choice in terms of cost. This particular meter has no display. So if you want to be able to display the readings locally, it's something that would have to be provided separately by a systems integrator or connect to a building automation or a SCADA system. One of the things that it does have is you can notice that it's got a separate USB port, and the manufacturer of this meter provides free software. So you can connect to this meter to verify the readings. Again, there's a wealth of different solutions out there, even beyond what I've shown you today. If we can help you in any way in terms of helping to specify or even go through the process of deciding what meter makes sense for your application, feel free to contact us, reach us at our website, or give us a call, 704-766-2060.